In the depths of night, when shadows crawl and whispers echo, I found myself standing before St. Veritas Cathedral. The ancient edifice loomed, a monolith of stone and secrets, its spires piercing the moonlit sky. They told me not to answer the call, but curiosity and folly are oft bedfellows in the realm of the occult. St. Veritas hadn't rung a bell in over 60 years, not since the great fire that scarred its hallowed halls. But tonight, they said, it screamed. A sound that rent the very fabric of reality, a clarion call to the damned and the desperate alike. I came prepared, or so I foolishly believed. My sigil-etched coat hung heavy on my shoulders, an iron rosary coiled around my wrist like a serpent of faith. In my pocket, a silver matchbook gleamed, and a flask of sacramental absinthe nestled close to my heart. You can't hunt demons without a decent buzz and a worse childhood, after all. The cathedral doors groaned open at my touch, revealing a sanctuary bathed in shadows and sin. At the altar, the impossible occurred. The marble split, not cracked, but parted like flesh before a blade. A seam opened in the floor, a maw of darkness that whispered my name with unholy reverence. A lie, it breathed my name, and the air grew thick with sulfur and despair. I threw salt, a futile gesture of protection. It sizzled mid-air, consumed by an otherworldly hunger. This was no earthly portal, but a gateway to realms beyond mortal comprehension. Then came the contract, scrawled in flame across the inside of my eyelids. Words of power and damnation, a bargain sealed in blood and madness. And at the bottom, a name that sent chills through my very soul, my own. The portal dropped me like a bad joke, hurling me into the abyss. I landed hard in the first room, the room of smoke. Ash fell like snow, choking every breath with the essence of forgotten nightmares. Here walked the Aspharoth, burning silhouettes that wept soot and devoured memories. One touched me, its fingers leaving trails of oblivion across my skin. In that moment, I forgot my mother's face, her voice lost to the hungry void. But I remembered the rite of severed tongues, an ancient incantation whispered in the darkest corners of occult lore. With trembling hands, I etched her name into my palm using a shard of broken oath, speaking it backwards as blood welled from the wound. The Aspharoth hissed and staggered, recoiling from the power of my sacrifice. I bolted for the gate of bone, a macabre archway fashioned from the remains of those who came before. The door demanded a price, as all things in this realm do. I gave it my middle name, feeling a piece of my identity crumble away as the gate swung open. The second room was a cathedral of meat, a blasphemous mockery of holy architecture. Walls pulsed with unholy life, chandeliers of rib cages dripped bile onto a floor slick with ichor. There sat Cardinal Gorimex, corpulent beyond imagining, gnawing on what remained of lesser demons. His crown was made of spoons, tarnished silver glinting in the sickly light. When he spoke, his voice was honey turned sour, cloying, and nauseating. "Speak not the sacred lie, mortal," he oozed, bits of flesh caught between yellowed teeth, "or choke on it." I bartered a truth instead, knowing the value of knowledge in this realm of deceit. "I know where heaven ends," I declared, my voice steady despite the terror clawing at my throat. The words bought me passage, but at a terrible cost. Gorimex carved the knowledge from the underside of my tongue, leaving me with a mouth full of blood and a voice that would never quite sound the same. It grew back wrong, twisting my speech into something not quite human. In the fourth room, the room of mourning, I faced a challenge of a different sort. Mirrors made of ocean stood sentinel, each reflecting not my own visage, but the specter of my worst decision. The sirens, Nilith and Ron, wept brine and sang secrets stolen from the drowned. Their voices were a siren call of regret and longing, threatening to drag me into the depths of despair. I tied my rosary into a noose and wore it backward, an act of sacrilege that shielded me from their temptations. They could not entice what was already damned, after all. With a voice raw from pain and transformation, I shattered their song with a line from the first language, "I have no shadow." The sirens vanished in smoke, leaving behind only the lingering scent of salt and sorrow. I kept one of their teeth, a small trophy that still hums at night with the echoes of forgotten melodies. The seventh room brought me face to face with Dalmasu, the demon architect. His horns formed a compass, and his body shifted with every lie told above ground, a living blueprint of mortal deception. He greeted me by name, his voice a cacophony of angles and impossible geometries. "You are not here by accident, Eli," he intoned, eyes gleaming with infernal knowledge. I showed him the siren's tooth, a silent challenge to his authority over this realm. He grinned, a rictus of sharp angles and broken promises. "I built this place, Eli, but I did not design the way out." In a moment of desperate inspiration, I told him I could, a lie so audacious it made the very air crackle with potential. Using his own blueprint, words carved into the air like punctuation marks, I bent the floor beneath his feet. A glyph formed, a symbol of power that even Bamasu could not ignore. The room collapsed, reality folding in on itself like origami made of nightmares. I dropped into the ninth room, the final chamber of this hellish labyrinth. It was empty. No demons prowled its corners, no flame licked at its walls. Just a chair made of mirrors, reflecting infinite possibilities and endless damnation. And there I sat, a pawn in a game I barely understood. My reflection smiled, a twisted parody of my own features. Then it stood up, defying the laws of reality with casual disdain. "You thought hell would be fire?" it said, voice dripping with cruel amusement. "Hell's language, hell's recursion." I drew my blade, a futile gesture against an enemy that was me and yet not me. The reflection drew mine faster, its movements a mockery of my own. It struck, but not to kill to bind. I found myself choking on syllables, my own name repeated backward, forward, twisted through every grammar hell could forge. The words burned in my throat, threatening to consume me from within. Then I remembered the absinthe. Blessed in contradiction, a paradox in liquid form. With the last of my strength, I bit into the flask, glass and liquor searing my throat like liquid fire. The mirror cracked, reality splintering along with it. I clawed upward through collapsing metaphors, broken psalms, and ruptured time, fighting against the very fabric of hell itself. I came out screaming in the cathedral, soaked in blood that smoked on holy marble. Behind me, the gate sealed, closing off the nightmare realm I had barely escaped. I still speak, but every now and then, a syllable escapes my lips that opens something, a tiny rift in reality, a glimpse into the abyss that hungers for our world. My shadow sometimes walks the other way, a constant reminder of the price I paid for my foolish descent. And some nights, when the moon is high and the veil between worlds grows thin, I see myself in the mirror. Not my reflection, but the other me still in the ninth room, still smiling that terrible smile. I write these words as a warning, a testament to the horrors that lurk beyond the veil of our reality. The manuscript you hold, dear reader, is all that remains of my ill-fated journey. The edges are charred, spiral patterns etched by hellfire itself. If you found this beneath the ruins of St. Veritas, I beg you burn it. Forget my name, forget this tale. For in speaking of hell, we give it power. And it is always listening, always waiting for another fool to answer its call.